His two roommates had addiction issues to prescription meds. He had let us know that when he came home for Thanksgiving. And so he had told us they had been stealing from him. And so he would lock his door at night so they wouldn't come in and take his stuff.
My sophomore year, so we'd been dating now about a year, a lot of guys just started experimenting with prescription pills and Percocet and Oxycontin. And it just kind of got out of hand. They started realizing they liked it.
He had finals, and he had completed his finals. And so I guess he was supposed to come home originally on Wednesday, but he called his dad and let him know that he was going to stay for a couple more days. He wanted to celebrate the birthday of one of his friends and the graduation for another of his friends. So there was going to be kind of a string of party, kind of things, and he wanted to stay for that, and he would see us on Saturday instead.
And at that point in time, when they started experimenting with these drugs, one of the brothers from one of the friends got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So he had a straight prescription of Oxycontin and all these crazy drugs that were always around, and all of Matt's roommates were really into it, and Matt never was really that into it. He knew I hated it, and that was a huge stress in our relationship.
He had been prescribed Xanax and Soma and oxycodone about 9 days before that. And so he had been taking these medications, but he mixed it with the alcohol.
But Matt didn't really fit into that. He didn't really understand why everyone was doing this, but all of a sudden his 4 roommates are addicted to this drug, and I feel like he kind of felt left out and needed to be peer pressure. Like that first time you have your first sip of alcohol, it's not because you want it, it's because your friends around you are trying it and you want to see what it's like. And that's what happened to Matt. He tried his first prescription drug, and it was fine. I mean, he was fine for the first couple months. He was fine. He did it every once in a while. And then I came back junior year and noticed that he had lost weight, that he was extremely distant. It just kind of sucked him in. It was almost a peer pressure thing. They just kind of did it. It was at the very beginning, it was a social drug interaction, and then it got more serious into an actual addiction problem.
Basically, he just, I guess on Thursday night, he went to a nightclub with all of his friends, and they partied that night, of course, there. And then afterwards, he came back to a friend's apartment in the same apartment complex he lived in. And from there, they came over to Joey's apartment, and apparently, through the night, he had been drinking alcohol, but he had also been using prescription medication.
Probably around December 20, around Christmas, I was watching an episode of Intervention, and I had seen all this stuff about how you can die from opiates and all these things, and Matt and I hadn't talked for 2 weeks, but all of a sudden I called him and I was just like, hey, you know what, this is really, really scary. I don't even care that you're not my boyfriend anymore. I don't care that you screwed over all your friends, but at this point in time, I care about your life, and I just want you to be healthy. Please stop. And he said, yeah, I've stopped. I'm gonna stop. I'm okay.
Around 5 o'clock in the morning, Joey went to bed, and his girlfriend, who had come back early, Kelly, back home, she was kind of, texting him through the night, and then when he finally went to bed, she was on the phone with him. So from about 5:30 to about 6:30, she had a phone connection up with him.
Who knows how he found what he did, but he somehow got his hands on some methadone. And methadone, if you look it up online, is a drug that doctors will prescribe to you to wean you off opiates. But it also says it is very lethal if it's not prescribed by a doctor and not taken in the right doses.
It got to be about noon, and she started making calls to him, and normally he would answer the phone, even if he's crabby, and whatever, he would answer the phone and at least respond, but he wasn't responding. It wasn't so easy to check on him because they couldn't just open the door.
It's not like Matt was at some club, raging, partying here at ASU, 20 drinks deep, he wasn't. He was sitting, he literally went out to dinner with his mom and was sitting watching a movie with his dad on his dad's couch, and still felt the need to take this drug.
She finally got another of his 2 friends, the 2 that had partied with him that night before, to come over to the place, and basically they're at the door. He's still not responding, of course.
January 6, 2010, I woke up, I got a Facebook message from his best friend saying, Katie, I don't know if you heard, but Matt died.
So they were, Kelly's basically just crash the door, whatever you have to do, just get in. So they did and found him. And at that point, he'd been gone for a while.
And he's like, no, like I need to call you, like he died. And so at that point in time, I obviously thought it was due to Xanax and all these other things, and
So we're sitting there thinking, oh my God, so how do we find out what's going on? So I suggested to my husband that he call the Tempe Police Department, and if something's happened, they'll know. So he did. He called, and he was on the phone for probably 40 minutes. We just sat there waiting for news.
I just remember looking at that Facebook message and just losing it, just like screaming. My mom came downstairs, was like, Katie, like, what's going on? Like, are you dying? I'm like, no, but, Matt just did. And for the next month of my life, it was the craziest whirlwind of everything I've had to deal with.
So, and then, so I was out front of the house, and I was just, kind of pacing, just trying to, control myself and get through it. And then I was out there with Joey's girlfriend and also my daughter-in-law. And so my husband came out finally and told us he was gone.
I thought he was only taking Percocet once or twice a week. I had no idea he was taking it multiple times a day. Taking Oxycontin and all these things. Matt had 3 months. You see these stories on intervention. These people are addicted 4 or 5 years, and then they hit rock bottom, and their family sends them to rehab because they've hit rock bottom. Matt never got the chance to hit rock bottom.
That just kind of began just this nightmare. We were literally 1 week away from Christmas, and so there was just so much to be dealt with. What do we do about getting him home? And up to pick out a coffin, just horrible things. Still trying to maintain for the little kids in the family because, it's Christmas and trying to, just keep the best front up we possibly could. But it was just absolutely beyond horrible.
Partying and going out and drinking and all that stuff will never be the same because in the back of my mind, I'm always, you always have to worry like, oh my gosh. And you don't ever want to have, it's a terrible, terrible thing. And Matt had such an influence on so many people at ASU, and I just wonder if he knew that, if he would still be here. Like, it's just so sad.
We had his funeral the day after Christmas, and it was at a place where, it was pretty good size, but it didn't even contain everybody that came. He had friends that came in from all over the country. Family and everything. So anyway, we got through it, but it was difficult.
Literally, it was a huge auditorium. There was 500 chairs, and it was 15 minutes before, and the walls and the floor were lined with people. There was not enough chairs for everyone. They had to open up the room. They had to make it 2 auditoriums. The firemen were there. They counted, I think it was like just shy of 1,000 people.
I remember at the service, I really thought there would be more people that would get up to talk and, talk about Joey, but I think they were so traumatized themselves that we had 2 or 3 that were brave enough to get up, but I think they were just like, oh my God, what happened to him? And, You know, could this happen to us? You know, so many of them were involved with this stuff and doing it too.
With Joey, you just didn't see it coming. You know, it was really just like completely out of nowhere. It hit everyone by surprise because realistically we didn't think he had a problem. We didn't think he had an issue. The things that should be important at that age were still important to Joey: family, school, friends. Any one of my brothers, if there would have been a real issue, someone would have said something, someone would have done something, but it just kind of caught us off guard.
It's just like you never know who you touch, and you never know who you affect.
This is what can happen, you know. Please be safe, you know. If you're doing this, stop, and, you know, let this be a lesson for you.
Matt's death has had such an impact, not only on my life, but on my parents' life, and most importantly, my 13-year-old brother's life, who just cannot get over the fact that Matt died. And you just have to think about who you're affecting. It's not only yourself, you're affecting everyone around you. No matter, this, like, the scariest thing ever is better telling your parents than having them to find you dead laying on your couch and make that call to his girlfriend and to his grandma. It is embarrassing, but ask your parents for help. Get help.
I haven't like played daddy with anyone and tried to, you know, really like tell them, hey man, like you need to slow down or anything, because at this age, but it's just hard because people, you know, like consider themselves invincible.
There are a lot of parents out there, a lot of students out there, a lot of school administrators and leaders of our communities that don't have any idea that prescription drug abuse is happening and how dangerous it can be. We actually named it the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. I started the organization when I learned after the death of my son Joey that prescription drug abuse is not very well known in terms of the dangers associated with it. We have built a board of directors and a group of advisors and a staff that I think is pretty impressive for the short time that we've been in service here.
Looking back, if I would have done anything different as a role as a girlfriend, I would have researched more, been more aware.
My advice would be, if you've got a problem, please go tell your parents. The vast majority of people have good parents, and nobody cares about you more than they do.
I think people that are around the age of 18 to 22 are just scared their parents are going to go to the extreme, kick them out of school. I mean, sometimes that is what needs to happen. You need to move out of Arizona, you need to move out of whatever state you're in. But sometimes, you know, just having someone support you, understand.
The goal is, just like anyone else has addiction to alcohol, smoking, or prescription drugs, once you suspect it, your goal is not to just to bring down the hammer. Your goal is to help them to get over their addiction.
In the end, no high is worth the devastation that you leave.
I just think if you are unfortunate enough to get yourself in that situation, that you need to do the right thing and get yourself help, not only for your sake, but for everyone else around you.
You do what you can, but in the end, if they don't want help, nothing's gonna make a difference. They have to want it for themselves. They have to see that they're valuable enough as an individual, no matter what they've done in the past. That's done. You know, they still can have a future. And so what I would hope is that they would say, you know, I really am worth it. I know I've had some horrible times, no matter what. And, you know, addicted people can do some pretty awful things. They can steal, they can lie, they can prostitute, they can do a lot of things. They'll do anything for that next fix. But you have to, they need to release on that and just realize that they're important enough to save, valuable enough to save. They've got to feel that themselves, so you can't convince them of it. Although I think that if friends, you know, can help rally around them, or parents, you know, and if they hear it often enough, maybe it'll start to sink in. I would like to think so.